I'm here to cause a riot.
Hi, Austin. How you
What's up? I'm
doing?
here to cause a riot.
You're here
I'm
to
playing.
cause a
I'm
cause.
playing. I'm playing.
You're here to cause a riot. That's funny. Having
I
a good.
like this class. It's only two people. I like it. I like it.
Wait till you go to grad school and sometimes your classes are legitimately like 4 people.
For real, for real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I would have
That's so
classes
cool.
in grad school that were like maybe like 4, 5, 6 people. Trying to think, the smallest class I ever had was, yeah, 4 during my master's degree. 4 people. Oh, come on. There we go. Man, I just changed my password and I don't remember what I changed it to. That's not good. I remembered it. All right. The only thing about really small classes is that you have to always do all the reading, right? Like you can never pretend that you did the reading because there's only 4 people. I had to change my password to Power School, and you can't.
Hi.
Hey, oh, oops. Oh my goodness, everybody's showing up all at once. All right. My camera's off. Oh, I was going to say, I hope that it's working because if it doesn't work, I don't know how to fix it. What? I'm like, oh, tangled. Oh my goodness. I do not have it together today. Okay, so we will wait a couple more minutes. While we are waiting, let me get you the Nearpod link. Just a second, and I will get you the code. Give me one moment. It's still loading on my end. Delilah, I can get that for you at the end of class. So just remind me and I will get that for you. Oh, you can't hear me? You can hear me? Okay. Jade, can you hear me? The internet's lagging. Yeah. I'm a little worried. I'm going to see if I can download the movie ahead of time for next week so that I don't have to try to deal with the internet messing up. Ethan, Fabian, Jade, Jaden. Justice, Kennedy, and Curie. Oh no. Poor Mr. Andrews. Oh, Nearpod. Come on. In his shed. Oh, because he's got a kid at home, I think, right? So that doesn't surprise me. The only thing I worry about is if my cats start freaking out, like if they start fighting or something. I don't want you guys to have to listen to that. But other than that, I don't really have to worry about anything being loud for the most part. I don't know if the Nearpod is going to work. I don't think Nearpod is working. So let me give you guys a link to the Google Slides. And then when we get to the videos, I'll just have to give you links to the YouTube. So no big deal. Well, the problem is that one of my cats does not like the neighbor cat. And so when he comes around, she gets really upset and he knows it. So she starts screaming and like hitting the glass and stuff. Yeah, it's Henley, the little one that's usually up all over my face. So, all right. So yeah, we'll just have to, since Nearpod isn't working, we'll just have to use the chat and, just sort of do it this old school, but that's okay. Yeah, so today we're going to talk about costume and set design, right? So finishing up our section on designers. And then next week, we are going to be watching The King and I, and then our exit tickets for next week will be extra credit. So you do the exit ticket, let's say it's 4 questions, you get your grade for the exit ticket, and then like if you get 100%, you get 4 extra credit points. So you'll have extra credit each day next week that will be related to whatever we watched from the movie that day. Okay. Any questions before we get started? Make sure that I have it up. So if somebody new joins, oh, we've got Giselle and Maya waiting to get in. All right. So we're going to start with costume design and talk about what costume designers do for the theater. Then we will move on to set design. we will examine some designs from plays, some costumes, some sets. Oh, you want the link to the Google slide? I can do that. Here you go. You're welcome. And then we have our exit ticket, of course, which I will open when we get to that part of the class. And that will be it for today. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. All right, who would like to read this slide for us, please? How about Justice? Why don't you read for us?
History of costume design. Originally, costumes were
Ceremonial.
ceremonial. Ancient Greek platform sandals helped lead characters stand out from the chorus. By the Renaissance, patrons would donate clothes to their acting troupes, and they began to try to indicate when the play was taking place with the clothes. With the rise of realism in the theater came the need for historical accuracy.
Good, excellent. So yeah, originally, right, it was a ceremony. So they were dressed in robes that were ceremonial robes. And so how did they differentiate the main actors to the chorus, right? Oh, you need access. I'll give you access. It's because you have to be logged in with your Uplift in order to use it. Send. All right. So how did they get those people to stand out? They would use platform sandals. So literally just like platform shoes, right? Tall sandals that would basically make the actors, the people who were playing the main parts, taller than the chorus members, so that people who are, way back in the audience, they know who the main characters are because they are literally taller than the rest of the actors on stage. Okay. So we've seen this also in kabuki theater. If you remember, we paused and looked at the really big platform shoes that the actor was wearing in kabuki theater, right? So that was sort of the first element of costume design, were these tall platform sandals. So when we get to the Renaissance and we have people who are patrons of troops, so they're sponsoring them, they're giving them money, they're giving them protection, right? They also were donating clothes to them to use as costumes. So this was sort of the first way that the people who, the actors were able to try to sort of indicate who, what the character like sort of was, what they were doing by using their clothes. It's not, though, until we get to realism. So we're talking about mid to late 1800s before people are actually striving for historical accuracy. So trying to make people look like they really would. Where, like when we were talking about, if you were supposed to play like a maid character, you would actually be dressed up in a way that made you look like a maid, right?
But how do they change? How does like one person, come some movies, you can change the costume on, you change to like 3 or 2 costumes like on a scene? Like how does that work?
Well, playwrights have to write their plays so that they try to give you time for changes, but it is called a quick change. So I've had to do this before. I would go off stage and there would be people waiting for me with all of my costume pieces. And you basically just stand there in like a T pose and they undress you as quickly as possible. And then they put your new costume on you and then you go back on stage. So It's a group effort. And sometimes it can be helped by having like secret Velcro panels so that like a skirt can come off quicker, or maybe your jacket looks like it's buttoned up, but it's actually just got snaps underneath, right? So that you can undress and redress very quickly. But yeah, so it is possible to do that. But you do usually need several people to help you. Okay, so let's talk about this in the chat. What do clothes tell you about the person wearing them? So you go, I mean, we don't go out now, but before, you go out to the mall, you go to, maybe not to school because you all have a uniform, but you go out to the mall, you go out in public, you go to eat out. What do people, their clothes, okay, their personality, their beliefs, good. What else? Their style. Yeah, absolutely. What else? How they express themselves, their feelings. What do you need, Eric? We're not on Nearpod. We're just because Nearpod's down. Their culture. That's a good one. Yeah.
Their preference of clothing.
Okay, sure. Yeah, it tells us, maybe are they very modest? Are they not, right? What about time and place? What can we tell about clothes with like time and
Based off,
place?
by that you can do it based off like the years and stuff.
Sure, absolutely. What else? What's the difference between how you would dress? Well, what is it like out today? 66, so not too much. But winter versus summer, for instance. Can you tell the weather by clothes?
Yes, honestly, every time I can wear shorts, I wear shorts no matter if it's cold or hot. So yeah.
What about jobs?
Oh yeah, jobs. Like business or like professional things, like professional athletes wear the uniform, and then like
Yeah.
or they have that, or like small businesses have like a shirt like a Walmart or something, or like a jacket
Yeah.
for that.
Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, for sure. So, you can get all of these clues about a character just based on what they wear. Excellent. You guys are doing great today. Good. All right. Who wants to read this slide?
Austin does.
Okay, go ahead.
Costumes help with setting the tone and style, indicating time and place, identifying statues and personalities, indicating relationships among characters, and meeting performers' needs.
Yes, exactly. So, most of this we've talked about, right? Tone and style, time and place, status and personality. What about relationships among characters? How can costumes help us with that?
Like you probably tell like based on among characters like who is who, or like who's like in the same house or something like that. I don't know how to describe
Okay.
it, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah. How else? You see this a lot with like Romeo and Juliet or West Side Story.
Probably another way is like I don't think this is right, but like to what like performance like meet their like beliefs. I think what it means by relationships or like what they want, give them like an opinion.
Okay. The question was, how can we show relationships between characters with clothing? I just put it in the chat. I don't think we've seen any concrete examples of this in class. Matching clothes to show the group. Yeah. So a lot of times with Jaden, you're right. A lot of times with like Romeo and Juliet or West Side Story, they will sort of color code the families, right? Like the Montagues. Yeah, exactly, Delilah. The Montagues will have like a color associated with them. and the Capulets will have a color associated with them. How does that relate to real life? No say? Anybody? Like, what groups use colors to sort of pledge their allegiance? There's a couple of examples I'm thinking of. One a little bit more sinister than the other.
Isn't one be like the people that were like all black during the theater fair to like change the like tone? Like
Okay. Yeah, I didn't think about that, but yeah, it shows like what position they are, that because they're part of the stage crew. I was thinking about like football teams, right? Or like football fans. They paint themselves in their team's colors, right? They're running around shirtless, painted blue and silver or whatever. But also, I mean, don't gangs do this too, right? That they identify with a color. And so everybody who sees them knows like what they're affiliated with, right?
Mhm,
Okay.
Yeah.
So we bring this idea to the stage. Okay, so I'm gonna grab the link. Let me pause my share so that you guys can watch this video. Oh, and I clicked the wrong thing. There we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and watch this video about costume design. I'll post it in the chat, so go ahead and watch it. It's about 3.5 minutes, and then let me know when you're done. Or actually, you know what? Since I'm showing it with everybody, if it doesn't work, let's just all watch it individually because I know that works better than doing it through Zoom.
It's unavailable on the school computer. So I personally can set it available.
All right, here I'll show it then. What I love how the school computers, my goodness, it's like it's from Broadway. All right, here we go.
Hi, I'm Sean McCourt.
And I'm Lindsay Northern. Welcome to another costume edition of Behind the Emerald Curtain. There are over 400 custom-made costumes in Wicked, and it takes an expert team to maintain them in the midst of 8 performances a week.
Join us as we meet the folks in the wardrobe room, and they take us through a day in the life of a costumer.
Alice Gilbert is an amazing wardrobe supervisor. I'd worked with her before. I had to have her on Wicked because I thought she's the only person who can understand the complexities of a monkey costume and a mask, all the way to the most delicate beaded piece of chiffon.
I think in many ways Susan was happy because I had done a lot of shows over a long period of time, and so there were things that I could have input about in choices that you might want to make it easier to maintain the show over a long period of time. What the fabric is, what the texture is going to be.
Alice takes every single piece of fabric that I choose, and in something like Wicked, there's over 2,000 pieces of fabric. She takes her nail and she digs into it to make sure that it is going to survive. For her, survival is the key. I call it the Alice test. These clothes do 8 performances a week. They live through sweat, water, fire, performance after performance, and they have to stay as beautiful from the very first day to the last day that they have on stage. It's an unbelievably difficult life for this costume.
For wardrobe to do the show, there are 12 dressers, plus myself and the assistant, and we have 4 to 8 people doing day work, depending on the day of the week.
They are there before, during, and after every performance, doing a kind of triage, whether or not it's a tear or a dropped bead or a loose connection. The whole team of people are prepared at any moment to jump in to fix something.
Who the costume would see through the day, if it were a single costume, there'll be 4 or 5 people dealing in the world of any individual costume. over a day's period. In the morning, early would come the day workers. If there had been something that had happened to it the night before, we have some day workers who will like burrow into the costume because some of these things are 16 layers. When it's time for it to appear in the show, the dresser will put it on the actor. The actor will wear it, the dresser will pull it off the actor, and it will go back on the rack, and the dresser will bring it back downstairs. Everything will be looked at every day, and of course, everything will be worn every day. So it's the constant wearing of the clothes, plus even the handling of the clothes. Like they go on and off the hangers, they go up and down the racks go on the elevator, racks go back and forth. You have constant opportunities for abrasion. The craft of doing wardrobe is indeed, you are dealing with something that has originally been made totally by hand. 10, 12 people have their hands on a dress. There's no mass production here. It is something that can only be done in a one-on-one basis, you and the costume right there.
I know that Alice Gilbert will always be there for every second of every show. So I know they're always going to look good.
Okay, so did that surprise you? Did you expect it to be that complicated?
No.
That's a lot, right? All of those people every single day. You like the video? I like the Behind the Emerald Curtain series. It's really cool because they really do look at, I mean, everything. And you get to see all this stuff about Wicked that you have no idea sort of goes into the theater, right? But all of those people are responsible for taking care of every costume every single day for the entire run of the performance. All right. Let's go ahead. All right. So, yeah. So basically, right, what we just talked about, right? Fabric choice is a huge part of costume design, right? You want to pick something that's beautiful, but you also, as it mentioned, have to pick something that is sturdy, that can stand up to all the stuff that it has to do, right? You make sketches. You don't really get to see the sketches in this version, but all of the costume designs have sketches that go with them so that it shows exactly what the costume should look like every time it's put on. Everything that is underneath the costume designer makes all of that as well. They also are responsible for all of the wigs that are used. They order the makeup. When necessary, they have to do even aging or dirtying fabrics. So you make a brand new costume, but let's say it's supposed to be worn by, like in Annie, right? With all the orphans at the orphanage. So they had to dirty the fabrics. And then you also work sometimes with a hairstylist, or sometimes it's the job of the costume designer to do the hairstyles as well, like to decide what their hairstyle needs to look like. Or you saw here the hats, right? So it's not just the surface stuff that you see, it's also everything else, all of the accessories, all of that is included. Any questions about any of this with costume design? Or anything I can explain better? Nope. Okay, all right. Who would like to read the beginning of our history of set design then? Okay. Oh, how much would it cost for one costume? Jaden, that is going to depend on the fabrics that you pick, because some of these fabrics can be very, very expensive and some of them are very cheap. So, it really depends on the fabric that you have chosen. Maybe if we have time at the end, we'll go to Mood and look at the prices of fabrics. All right, Victoria, go ahead and read this one for us, please.
Okay. History of set design. Originally, simply is Physical space for performance, no sets, the beginning of scene design. Medieval theater, mansions for each story from the Bible, development of the proscenium stage.
Okay, yeah. So it's not really until we get to medieval theater when we're trying to be very specific, right? We're trying to teach about religion that we are crafting these individual sets to help tell the story, right? So that's really sort of the beginning of scene design. Now, the proscenium stage, though, which is still basically the stage that most people use for the theater, is has changed a lot over time. So we're going to watch a little video about that. So let me grab that for us. I wish that Nearpod hadn't gone down, but you know. Hopefully I can find this video. Oh, I edited it. That's right. We're not watching the whole thing. Okay. You guys are going to get to see a little bit behind the curtain of how I make some of your stuff, because some of this comes from the college courses I have taught before. I will go into those PowerPoints and pull out videos and stuff that I like to use. Then this one? From that one or this one? So you actually are learning basically the same stuff, or a lot of the same stuff that I teach for, there it is, for my college classes. Or at least I start with it. So this, we're not going to watch the whole thing, but we are going to watch the beginning of this video. Oh, come on. There we are.
After the Roman era, for centuries, no permanent theatres were built. In the 16th century, the Italian architect Sebastiano Serlio designed a typical ancient Roman theatre, which is never built.
So here they're showing the differences, right, between what it would have looked like from ancient Greece and ancient Rome.
In palace halls. Mathematical perspective, which was just discovered in those days, was applied in the scenery in order to enlarge the theatrical illusion. This is Serlio's comic scene.
So here you see, this is a raked stage. Okay, so we have the actor, and so they're trying to create the perspective of like a whole street, right?
The ground plan of Serlio's Hall Theatre. The perspective scenery necessitated a relatively large space behind the stage.
So yeah, they would have acted, oh, I forgot to pause it. They were actually acting on this red part, and the scenery would take up that whole purple area there.
The perspective was constructed from the seat of the monarch.
So the thing about this is that only the seats that are really like the perspective of the monarch have like the perfect view. And the further out you get to the sides, the more warped this looks, right? So if you were really important, you got to sit in the middle and actually see things like the best view. And if you were not so important, I mean, you were in the room, you got to watch the play, but it looked kind of strange.
Andrea Palladio designed in 1579 the oldest still existing theatre in Europe after the Roman era, Teatro Olimpico. This theatre is part of a block of buildings in Vicenza, a city in the north of Italy. It is a miniature Roman theatre brought indoors.
So same thing here, right? Here's all the scenery, and then where the actors actually act, our orchestra, and where we get to sit. So you can actually go to this theater today. Like she said, it's in northern Italy, and you can go, and this is what it really looks like. Let me go down to, yeah, so this is what I think is the funny part. Watch this part.
The rising and narrowing streets create an illusion of depth. The gate in the back, for instance, is only 1.5 meters tall. Of course, in these perspective streets, acting is impossible.
So if you were to actually walk up, you would be a giant, right? So you can't actually really use any of that scenery. It's just there to look at, but you can't actually use it for the purposes of like acting. So this is sort of where we got our start with the proscenium, right? From people taking, in the neoclassical era, these Roman and Greek sort of theaters and trying to figure out how to incorporate this new idea of mathematical perspective, right? This is sort of how they merge the two. And this is how we eventually get to the perspective theater that we have today. Now, one of the things they do mention here, they show the way that they would have oil lamps and then 10 ones. And then, of course, as we mentioned before, that this would result in a bunch of fires. Right? Any questions about that? It's a very old video, but it shows like, I mean, I think the footage inside the Teatro Olimpico is like so cool. And they show it from a lot of different perspectives. So if it doesn't sort of make sense from one side, you can look at it from another and sort of get a different idea of what it looks like. Questions about that? No? Yes? No? Okay. All right. So all that's to say is that once we get to realism, the idea of the box set becomes sort of the number one way to tell, to create a set. A box set looks like this. It's usually when a play takes place in one location, right? And it is meant to look like a real like space. So what kind of assumptions would you make about the people who live in this room that you can see? Who do you think these people are? What age are they? They have money. Okay. They're rich. Yeah. What else? Middle class. Okay. Any idea of like the time period? Yep, Austin, you sure can. The 30s. Okay. I would say a little bit like later than that, but you get the idea that it's not right now, right? The furniture looks dated. We've got wallpaper that's very floral. There's a lot of that green that was sort of popular in like the 70s and the 80s, right? But it's up to your interpretation, right? But yeah, doesn't seem like it's probably, if it's the plays happening now, does it seem like this house is updated a lot or well taken care of? No, right? Doesn't look like it was built in 2020 or 2019, right? You guys awake? Hello? Yes? No? What do you think? No, says Jaden. Okay. Anybody else? Or we all agree with Jaden? Okay, Delilah agrees with you. All right, okay. All right, so who would like to read this slide for us, please, about what a set designer does? All right, Kennedy, thank you very much.
Start with the script. What does it call for? Everything we encounter in real life can be part of scenic design. The architecture of a room, the furniture, the colors, fabrics, and details. How does this translate to a stage environment?
Yes, exactly. So think about your bedroom or your living room, whatever, right? What are the things that are in that room that sort of help people know that it's yours? Maybe it's colors, maybe it's posters you have. How do people know, like, oh yeah, that's Jaden's room, or that's Maya's living room, or maybe like when you look at your living rooms, the theme of the room, okay? Maybe your living room, that it's like, you know, like, oh yeah, like this is definitely my mom, right? The way it's decorated, all right? I'm going to show you guys here. I'm going to take you on a little tour. Give me 1 second. Hopefully I don't get disconnected when I unplug my internet. Let's see. Okay. Did I lose you guys? No? I'm still here, right? All right. Okay. Can you hear me now? Yeah? Okay. All right. Let's go on a field trip to my living room. What do you guys think my living room, what you know of me, what do you think it looks like? Any guesses? Here's my calendar. Blue. Oh, nice. That's more my bedroom, but I like that. Yeah. All right. So this is my big old painting. Cat stuff. Yep. Modern. Yeah. You'll see. So, of course, I've got it decorated, but there's sort of my TV area. I've got a big fireplace that I have decorated. I have my cat tower, and there's some of my cats. And then I have this big brown leather chaise and a recliner, and then you can sort of see into the kitchen. Chip and Dale, yeah. Yep, I got Chip and Dale nutcrackers. So some of you said modern, right? Some of you said cat stuff. So you already have like an idea just based on what you know about me, right? That's sort of what we want to do with the set, right? We want to give clues to the audience members about who these people are and how they live. And the way that we do that is by, you know, showing them some things about these people in the set. Now, of course, we don't necessarily reveal everything, right? But it just helps to give sort of like context clues about how these people live and what's important to them. So you see, if I have a giant cat tower in my living room, that probably means that that's important to me, right? Okay. That they're important to me. I have like a big place for them. All of my nutcrackers indicate that they're really important to me, right? Does that make sense? Yeah, all right, cool. Let me share my screen again. All right, so yeah, so a set designer is trying to help create a mood, a style, right? Where does the play take place? An environment, which can be realistic or non-realistic. So the examples that we've looked at are mostly realistic, right? So we're going to go ahead and find some examples. So let's do non-realistic scene design. Okay, so here are some examples where this is not realistic, right? It's not a place where you would like go in reality. Or this one is another good one. Sometimes it's based in reality, but it's not like they look cool. Yeah, they do look cool. They're very imaginative, right? Or like this one, let me see, is there a bigger version of this? I know that there is. Oh, that's not the right one. This one does it too, though. Where it has like some elements of real mixed in with things that you fill in with your imagination, right? Or same thing with this one. We have, you know, a real chess table set up, but everything else is sort of very non-realistic. Okay. And the same thing goes with costume design. So here's one. So what do you think about that character? Like, what can you tell about this character from how they look? Skeleton-like, they look like an alien, okay? This one too is very cool. Where's Julie Taymor, Midsummer, Puck. Okay, so check out this one. I wish I could find this again. We have, this is Oberon and Titania from A Midsummer Night's Dream. Alice in Wonderland, yeah. See, Titania has these lights that are like connected to her costume that shine this like bright light on her face. And then you can't really tell in that picture. Oh yeah, look at this one. With the little kids and the donkey. This is a very non-realistic set for Midsummer. The bed grows up out of these branches. Like Pinocchio. Yeah, Puck does sort of look like Pinocchio, doesn't he? Look at it. So you guys get the idea. You can do both. And neither one is necessarily better than the other, right? They serve different purposes. And it's up to, you know, the costume designer and the director and what they're trying to do to decide what's best for their production. Okay, let me go ahead and open the exit ticket for y'all so that you can go ahead and get that started. So it has been enabled, all right? So you got about 5 minutes to do that. And then if you have any questions, let me know. And then as I mentioned before, next week we're going to watch a movie. So try to get here on time if you can next week, because if you get here late, you're just going to have to miss part of the movie. There's not much I can do about that. We have to pretty much start it on time. So the exit ticket is open, and if you have any questions, just let me know. Yep. Once you are done, you can go. And I hope you guys have a great weekend. And I will talk to you on Monday. The exit ticket? Yes. Yes, Delilah. Thank you for reminding me. Yep, you can go ahead and do the exit ticket and you can finish. You can leave when you have finished it. And then Delilah, let me get that for you. All right. Thank you, Cortland. You are free to go. Victoria, Jaden, are you guys okay? Have any questions? Okay. Jaden, how about you? Okay. No problem.